Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. In today's lesson, we are going to discuss about declaration and assignment in the pseudocodes. As these two things are actually the basic things while we start doing the computer programming or we are writing an assignment. In the problem solving, declaration and assignment, they both are the very essential things. We should know that what is mean by the assignment and what is mean by the declaration, and how do we show it, how do we perform it, and how do we show it. So let's begin today's lesson. The very first topic is declaration. As in our previous video, we have discussed about that we have different data types, and we declare the different variables, arrays, and constants. So declaration is what? In the declaration, we give a name to the variable or an array or a constant. We name it, and in the whole program, we use the same name again and again wherever we want to use the backend value of that array or that variable. Okay, so the declaration gives a name and the data type for a variable, an array, and of course constants as well. Sorry, I didn't write constant here. It may also ask that a particular value be placed in a variable or at the different positions of array. And when we declare a constant, so what is a value of constant? Okay, all these things. So when we declare a variable, the command that we use, it is declare itself. As you can see on your screen, declare is a command that we write in the beginning, and then we give the name of that array. But remember, whenever we are naming an array or a constant or a variable, whatever is there that you want to declare, remember one thing, a very important thing, that the name that you are going to give, it should start always with alphabet. There shouldn't be a number or any special character. Okay, you can give any name to the variable. It can be ABCD, it can be XYZ, any, but it is preferred that we give the sensible names to the variables and the arrays and the constants, so that when we will be doing the program at that time, it will not be very difficult to recall or to call that variable. If you name it with the simple alphabets like ABCD, so it is going to be difficult for you, because by the end of the program, you may be possible that you will forget those alphabets again and again. Okay, so it is better to give a sensible name to those variables, arrays, and constants. So when we declare any variable, we use the command declare. Then we give the name of the variable. If there is a big variable, as I have written, for example, variable name, see, I haven't used any space in between. So we cannot use any space in the name. For example, I want to store student names in my variable. So it is better to name it the same thing, student name. But how we will write it? We will make S of student capital and N of name capital. So when the reader will read the pseudocode or the program, so he will be able to understand it very easily. We can use underscore as well. Okay, but we cannot use space in between. Okay, and then after naming it, we write S. S is a command, a statement you can say, and then we write the type of that variable. Means what kind of data is going to be stored in that variable. Okay, there are some examples in front of you. For example, declare name as a string. So string is a data type. Once I have announced in my program name variable and type string, so it will be assigned enough space to store strings. Okay, if I want to declare integer, so how will I write? Declare, then the name of that integer, I have named it as well. I have taken it from the value as integer. So it will be having the values in the whole numbers. But if I have announced it, if I have declared it as an integer, but if afterwards I want to store the value that is fractional value 0.5 into it, so it is impossible. We cannot do it. It will generate an error. Okay. And in the same way, declare size as char, because usually when you go to the market to purchase, for example, you are buying a cup of ice cream. So there are three different uh, sizes available: the small, medium, and the large. So when we have only one letter to be stored, S for small, M for medium, L for large, so it is better to declare it as char. Okay, so this is the way how we declare any variable. Yes, one more thing, as we have already discussed that the value of the variable can be changed during the execution of the program. So you may be possible that at the beginning you can assign the value to the variable, but afterwards at some point in the program maybe it will be changed. Okay, let me show you how do we assign the value. For example, here I have declared val as integer. So if I want to show that it has at the beginning of the program it has some value into it, so I can make arrow, and then we can write whatever the value you want to give. For example, 2 I have given here. So means I have declared a variable, its name is val, and its data type is integer, and its present value at the beginning of the program is 2. And usually we do this declaration at the very beginning of the program. Okay. Uh, in some languages as well, we need to declare the variables in the beginning. And in some other programming languages, we can declare the variable at any point. For example, if you are working with Visual Basics, so you need to declare the variables at the very beginning of the program. But if you're working with Python, so it is not necessary that you are declaring it in the beginning. You can declare it anywhere in the program. Okay, but yes, of course, the commands will be different according to that programming language. As we store, as we declare, if I want to declare this name as a string in my Visual Basic, so what should I write? I will not write declare there. I will write dim name as in string. Okay, but when we are doing pseudocode, at that time we are going to use these commands and declare for declaring a variable along with its data type. Okay, what you have to remember, whenever we are declaring any variable, we give it a name and we tell the data type of it. And when we are writing, when we are naming it, so we should not start our name with any special character or with any number. It should always start with alphabets. Okay, and there shouldn't be a space in between if that's a combination of two words. Okay, now let's move towards declaration of an array. How to, when we declare an array, the command is same, declare, then we name the array, and the same rules are followed. Means we should start it always with the with an alphabet. After the alphabet we can use the number, doesn't matter, but we cannot use a space in between. Okay, and we do not use any special characters except underscore. Okay, After naming it, it is mandatory to tell the size of that array. As in our previous lesson, in our previous video, I told you that array has a fixed size, and we tell at the very beginning of the program and at the time of declaration of an array that will be the size of that array. Okay, but when we mention it in our pseudocode, so it is better to use both the things. You should tell two things into it. One is the starting value, from which index number our array is starting, as it is starting from number 1, and the maximum value. For example, I want to declare an array and that is going to store 30 values into it. So the first value will be 1 and the last value will be 30. Okay, if you do not write this thing 1 at the beginning and you write only 30, so it will be considered that it is going to store 31 values. If you are not telling this thing in the beginning that our array is starting from 1. Why? Because the first number will be considered 0. And from 0 to 30 if you go, so there will be total 31 places. And then we give the name of the data type after writing S. Okay, so declare name of an array, the size of an array, or starting number with colon and the last number of our array, the range of the array, and as the data type, that what kind of values are going to be stored in that array. For example, the same, declare name 1 to 30 as string. Now I have declared an array and its name is name. It will be having total 30 values. The first value is 1 and the last value is 30. And what kind of data is going to be stored into it? It will be a string. Okay. The same thing here, you can see declare val 30 as integer. So it is going to store 31 values into it because our array starts from 0 if you are not mentioning 1 at the beginning, 1 colon if you are not writing. So it means it will be having 31 values, and the first value will be 0, then 1, then 2, then 3, and so on. And what kind of data data is going to be stored into it? That data will be integer, and we can access whatever the value is stored at one specific point in the array with the help of index number. For example, you will see it ahead in the next slide when we will be discussing about the assignment. Declare size 1 to 3 as char because it is going to store only 3 values. Okay, the first value will be 1 and the last value will be 3. And in this list, you can consider an array as a list, and in this list there will be 3 different elements. Okay. Now come to the third thing, and that is declaration of constant. When we declare any constant, so we have a command const for that. We do not use declare as we were using in variable and in arrays. When we are declaring constant, we give a command const, then the name of the constant, and the same rules are followed. No numbers in the beginning, no special character, only the alphabet, and no space if there is a combination of two words. You can use capital letters to show, as I have shown here, constant and name. There are 2 words, so I have made C capital and N capital. Then we need to show the value of that constant, and that value is not going to be changed during the execution of the program. And then we can mention the data type after writing S. Okay, as you can see in the example, const name, I am declaring a constant name Allah. When we are declaring any constant that will be having a string value, so it is necessary to put inverted commas over them. Okay, as I have written here. So const name Allah as a string. And during the execution of the program, the name is not, the value of that name position is not going to be changed. It will remain Allah. And in the same way, const tax rate I have shown, and that is 10 as integer. You can see in the third example, constant discount. If I'm offering 5% discount, so for example, discount and 0.05 as float. So in my program, if I want to calculate the discount from the price, for example, so I will write discount is equal, price multiplied by 0.05. So it will give me the 5% of that price. Okay. So we will not be using that 0.05 in the formula. We will be using the name. Okay. And afterwards, once we have made a program and it is in use, and afterward, and the person says to us that they have changed the rate of the discount, and now it will be 7% or 8%. So what you will be doing, you will be just changing the value here. So wherever in the formula you have used this word discount, firstly it was taking 0.05, but after making the change, it will be taking the different value, 0.07 or 0.08. It depends. Okay. The second thing that we are going to discuss today is assignment. Assignment is actually the storing the values into different arrays and different variables. At the constant, when we declare, we assign the value. But arrays and variables values can be changed during the execution of the program. Remember this thing. Okay. So let's see how do we do it. Firstly, we write the name of that variable or that array in which the value is going to be changed. Okay. And then we make an arrow and then the value. The value can be given directly. It can be a literal value, as you can see here, name and inverted commas I have written early. Maybe during the execution of program, it will be changed at some point. We can assign the value with the help of formulas. You can see here 2 plus 2 I have written. So the value will be 4. Okay. You can see another example of formula. I've written num plus total, means whatever the previous value of total was there at the beginning of the program, at this point where this statement is used in the program, the value of total is going to be changed. And whatever the number value is there, it is going to be stored in the previous value of total. And whatever the total will be there, it will be stored, it will replace the previous value of total. Okay. For example, the previous value of total, yeah, for example, at the beginning I have shown that total is equal to 0. Okay. Then I have taken input from a person and I have written input num. Num is also a variable. So whatever the person will give the value to the num. At this point, the previous value of total was 0. The num value, for example, I have given 10. So that 10 will be added to the 0 here, because the previous value of total was 0 and num that we have given, it is 10. So that 10 will be added into 0 and the new value of total will become 10. the previous value will be replaced. Okay, understood? The third example, if I want to assign a char, so how do we do it? We write the name of that variable in which the value is going to be stored. We always write at our left side of the arrow, the name of the variable in which the value is going to be changed. On the right side of the arrow, we write the value. And you should notice here that in this, when I'm storing a char, a character, so I have used single inverted comma. Okay. The index is when we are assigning the values of array, it is slightly different than the assignment of variables. In array assignment, we need to tell the number of the index. Okay. And when we are giving a name of the array, after that, we use these brackets, the square brackets, and we give the number, the index number, and the index number is the position. And then we write the arrow and the value. The same rule is followed. On the left side, we write the name of the array and its position. And on the right side of an arrow, we use the value that is going to be stored. For example, in the first example, you can see name 10 Ali means there is an array that name is name, and its 10th position I'm going to save name Ali. This name can be changed afterwards at any point of my program. Okay. We can also tell the position in an array with another variable. For example, I have used here well, a name of an array, and that I've used int here. Int can be a variable that will be having some value into it. For example, right now the int value is 99. So well, the name of the array, in that array at the 99th position, 2 plus 2, 4 is going to be stored. Okay, you can see the third example, size, then the position, and then the value that you are storing into it. I hope that it is clear to you now that what are the main differences between uh, assignment and declaration, and how do we do the declaration of constants, arrays, and variables, and how do we assign the values to them. Okay, thank you very much. Allah Hafiz.